Next issue. Reeve and council remuneration. So, Mr. Beakley recommends establishing the annual salary for the positions of Reeve and councillor at $13,000 annually, based on 2014 numbers, effective January 1st, 2017. This is up from the current $10,485. Will be a total cost variance of, that's $2,500 per councillor. Are you in favor of that starting January 1st, 2017, $13,000? Plus what we had discussed before, the $1,800 for the committees. Just add that on because we're all chairs. Is there any discussion on chairs of two chairs? Do you get extra, or does it matter if you're chair of whoever, then too bad, so sad? Councillor Olmsted and then Councillor McLaughlin.
I would just like for the chairs for the bylaw to state that each member of council shall chair at least one committee. Okay. Right now we don't have anything stating that anybody has to serve on any committees. Right, because so somebody could come in and appoint everybody, one person to all the committees. Right. Yeah, I agree. Okay. So we include $13,000 plus $1,800 for a total council remuneration of $14,800 beginning January 1st, 2017. All in favor of that? Good. Okay. So we've covered the chair per diem then, and you'll make note of the bylaw to include that each councillor be appointed to it as a chair. Outside boards and committees, Mr. Beakley recommends that the mayor determine the chair of each committee on an annual basis, and this be effective January 1st of each year. The council meet annually to ratify the mayor's assignments, which conforms to our procedural bylaw. The exception would be the ORPC, blah, 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 blah. Outside boards and committees, you're not appointing chairs for those because it's not the library board would appoint its own chair. The Recreation Association would appoint its own chair. I would think of each rec association if we're sitting on each one. So really, is there any discussion on that item? Mayor Johnson.
I don't know if I'm getting this right, but anyway, the different boards that I sit on, we're the only people that apparently that doesn't get a remuneration to sit on those boards as a councillor.
What boards?
The police board. And
so that's number 7, meeting per diem.
And
okay. Thank you. We wouldn't want that. So number 7. Moving on. Meeting per diem. Mr. Beakley recommends that in addition to set per diems, which is our council remuneration and mayor remuneration outlined in item whatever, outside of normal scheduled standing monthly committee meetings, which are our first committee meeting of the month, ad hoc committee meetings that you'd get $50 for a half day, under 4 hours, and $100 for a full day. So that also would include special meetings like budget meetings, anything in additional to your first Wednesday of the month committee meetings and your third Wednesday of the month council meeting. Any other meetings above and beyond that, which should include a library, airport, recreation, if you're going to any other meetings that you've been appointed to as subcommittee meetings, that you get $50 for under 4 hours and $100 for a full day. Is everybody in favor of that? Sure, Councillor McCoy.
Would that include, like, we went to the school board, did that school board, so that too?
Well, I would say that that's a special, it's not really an ongoing committee.
Yeah, no,
so it's not
once in a lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it on behalf as a councillor, rather than as a committee.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Doing something like that to me is just part of your salary.
Yeah.
It's up to you whether you want to go or not.
Yeah.
It's a benefit to you if you do go. But to put an honorarium with it, I don't agree with that at all. And I will go back to when I first sat on council, because I was the only one that sat on council, that there's ever been a
Per diem.
Whatever.
A meeting per diem.
Okay. A monetary value put towards the meeting that you would be attending. Before, at that time, it was $60 for a half meeting, and I think $120. But also, you have to realize our salary was based about $5,000. So that's where the difference came to start as I go back, because I don't want to see the difference again coming that one person is making $14,000, twice as much, because at that time there was councillors making $14,000. There was also councillors that were making $7,900 because they weren't sitting on those meetings.
As many committees.
That's my biggest reason for not putting a monetary value to outside appointments, because it is, if you go back, it's already been rolled into your salary that you're receiving. But I also agree, I don't know, because there are people, as I've said before, that sit on 16, have to go to 16 meetings a year, and there's also some that may only have to go to 4 or 1. So is that fair? So it's got two ways to think about it.
So you're not in favor of the per diem?
Well, no. I mean, I'm on these meetings, no.
Can I get you to
I'm
shut
not.
your thingy off? You're not in favor. Reeve Miller?
I'm not in favor either. I think that's going to be hard to manage. We've given council significant raises here. We've given the mayor 7,000 over us, not 6. And that covers a lot of meetings, and I think it could, not necessarily any individual, but over time it could be misinterpreted, abused to a degree over time with different councils. And that's not the reason we should be going to these things, is to get an extra $50 on the paycheck. We're well paid now within our salary to do this, I think. And we do charge mileage for all that too. I believe yous do. I don't, but yous might do. So that's how I feel. That's just going to complicate everything. That's my opinion.
Do we include, sorry, Councillor Rieger, just the question is, do we include for our own special meetings of council or committee meetings like budget? You're suggesting no. Councillor Rieger, your comments?
I was just going to add, I agree with Councillor McLaughlin and Reeve Miller. I do not think that we should be accepting anything in addition to. I would have a hard time justifying myself going to a library board meeting and being paid $50 for being there 45 minutes or an hour. I think my hand would shake. So I'm not in favor of that.
Can I just put it then to a vote sort of thing to see if everybody's in a favor? I understand, unless you have a huge difference of opinion. Councillor McLaughlin? I just don't want to drag this on for hours.
No, I don't want to drag it on either, but you did bring up a very valid point, that I agree with Councillor Rieger, the outside meetings, but if we're having to attend, as we have in the past, we've been attending 4 meetings a month rather than 2 meetings a month, maybe there should be some monetary value put to any special meetings that all of council would be attending. As you said, budget. I can agree to that part of it, and maybe leave it at the discretion of the CAO to say which meetings, you know, which ones we would receive extra money for. I think maybe that part, but certainly not for the boards. As you say, you're sitting around a bunch of volunteers. They're not getting paid for it, but you're getting paid. I know former members that didn't put in for the time because of that one reason. So that I'm thinking. So in essence of time, I've said my part. I would agree to special meetings, as you have said.
So any special meetings, like for instance, this year, from January until almost June, we met at least once a week. And for the most part, those meetings went until at least 10 o'clock at night, from sometimes 5:30. So are you in agreement to include those as to just those meetings that are called as a council sitting, either council in committee or council meetings, for special meetings, to include those in this per diem and not outside committees, like the library board and other that? Can I see a show of hands to see if we're all in favor of that? That we would be paid $50 for under 4 hours or not, or $100 for a full day. So if you have a budget meeting that you have to take time off work to come to, and you are sitting here for a full day meeting, that you would get $100 for that. Councillor Olmsted and then Reeve Miller.
I'm not in favor of us getting any money on top of the pretty significant raise that we received tonight. And I say that, I think, having spent a lot of time in this council chambers, along with Councillor Rager over the last month on these hiring committees, where I know Councillor Rager spent, I think on the second interview, he spent a half a day here, had to make arrangements at work and couldn't go until later, and myself as well. I think for the one hiring, I think we spent maybe 2.5 full days in here in 1 week. Maybe 1.5, I can't remember now. It's been 2.5 full days. So I think we signed on for the job knowing that I don't think any of us came for the money. I think we all came for some public service. I think we're down to about $1 an hour if you've worked it out anyway. So I'm not in favor of us giving ourselves any more money. We knew what we're getting into, going on these conventions and that kind of thing. It's up to us. Nobody's forcing anybody to go. I'm not in favor of me paying myself an extra $100 a day to be away either at those or to come into an ad hoc committee or to sit on a hiring committee. Again, I can refuse, I can tell the mayor that I can't sit on that board. So I think it's self-choice.
Is everybody in favor of that? I understand everybody's just going to repeat everything that's been said, and I think unless you have a new point. Okay, so in favor of including the extra meetings beyond the 2 a month, yay or nay? Can I see it? Are you in favor of including the money, any meetings over 2 scheduled meetings a month? Is it anybody? Do you want to get paid for them or not? Do you want to get paid for them? Yes? No. No. Thank you. Mileage rate. Are we back on that issue? Are we back on that issue?
We're on mileage.
Okay, mileage rate. Mr. Beakley is recommending that we go by the Canada Revenue Agency rates for all travel, as set out in the report there. 54 cents up to 5,000 kilometers and 48 cents after that. Is everybody in favor of that? Currently, the rate is what, Marcia? 50 cents.
50 cents.
Is anybody in favor of that? And that would also include staff, as far as I'm concerned, if that was to be increased. Reeve Miller.
I'm in favor of that, and I'm
Okay.
calling for a vote on that.
Okay. We're in favor.
Okay, move on. Next one.
Please include employees as well in that bylaw. Thank you. Is everybody in favor of that? Thank you. Training and conferences. We already discussed that. With regards, so you're saying that we need to have a per diem expense for being away at a conference? If you're away at OGRA for 3 days, you want $100 a day to be away? Okay, question number 1.
Okay. My question is, and maybe it doesn't pertain to number 9 because I forget what number 10 is, but this is about the allotment of money per person.
Sorry?
Is that in number 9?
sorry, say that again, because all I heard was sorry.
Under number 9, is this inclusive of how we use each councillor's allotment for the cost of the conferences and the limits?
No, that's not.
Is that coming up?
No.
That's not coming up?
That's not coming up at this point, but we'll bring it up because it is an issue.
Yeah, okay, good.
Which I thought we resolved, but anyway. Do you want to be paid while you're away or not? Yes? All those in favor? No? Councillor McLaughlin?
Well, I say that we need to be reimbursed, at least for the money that I'm going to lose, because I have to take time off of work to attend. So, and I'll go back to times before where we were paid to go to the conferences. My suggestion would be, and I would be in favor of being paid up to $4 or 4 days. Whether you attend one conference, 2 conferences, that's up to you. You could have maybe, and I was working at $120 per day. So, yeah, and that's, but I would like to put a limit on it as of 4 days. So that would be, in my mind, would be $480 per person.
That amount would go against your expenses allotted of $3,000 currently. That amount would go against that. So it limits your number of conferences that you can attend to even less than. But I think we had discussed that kind of issue in meetings per diem, that somebody did mention that they don't want to be paid to go away to conferences. I think it was you, Councillor Olmsted, that it's the same thing. If you're appointed to a committee during the day, you would have to take time off as well. We decided that no, we weren't going to pay that. If you go away to a conference, you're not going to pay for that either, was Councillor Olmsted's suggestion. Can I see a show of hands if people want to be paid for the day while away at a conference? Yes? Up to whatever, a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, doesn't matter.
Well, there's a big difference between 4 days and 7 days. I'm, like I said, I was willing. I think you should be paid.
Okay, up to 4 days. If you're going, do you want to be paid up to 4 days to be away at a conference? Yes? Put your hands up. 2, 4, 5 against. Seriously?
You've got it already counted?
Yeah, 2, 5. So that makes it 3 to 4. 3 to 4
doesn't change anything, but I kind of agree.
Are we going back to this? Councillor Regier?
Well, I just want to be very clear that it's coming out of that $3,000, or out of our maximum, whatever that is for a conference. Correct?
It would be, because you would claim it on your expense account rather than on your salary.
So it's not anything above and beyond.
In your salary?
No. In your salary, it's not anything above and beyond.
No.
So it is, as Councillor McLaughlin said, it is just replacing your rate of pay for the day from your salary job, from your...
So do we have a suggested amount? Some people might only make $100, other people make $200 a day, or $300 a day.
I wish. I would go for $100 a day. I think $100 a day would be fair. That's...
Okay, so I'll put it back on the table. $100 a day for 4 days maximum to be paid out of your expense account, which is a different issue, but right now, just to be paid out of your expense account. All those in favor? Okay, so $100 for conferences, but not meetings. Maximum of 4 days. Per year, not per conference.
Right.
Correct. Meal allowance. Mr. Beakley recommends 45 daily maximum with Renfrew County, same as current blah, blah, blah. Recommendation for outside Renfrew County, $75 a day. Now, typically, so you either show receipts or you don't show receipts. Currently, it's if you require a meal that isn't paid by the conference, then you're allowed so much money. If the conference, and most conferences include the meals, breakfast and lunch minimum, that you would not claim it. This is, the $75 would be no receipt required, you would automatically get that. So to me, that offsets what the $100 a day is, in my mind, is that you only claim currently, I don't know what it is it, it's only gone to one.
Sorry, claim for which one?
For a meal, if you were away, is there
If you were
like
away?
breakfast, lunch, and supper
Yes.
separation?
Yes, there is. Breakfast is 12, lunch is 18, supper is 35. So it's 65, so it's a little extra this way. The one that Bruce is suggesting.
However, having said that, sometimes when you go to Ogra or Roma, those suppers are not included, and you go out and your meal is a minimum of $50 in downtown Toronto. In downtown Kingston, your meal is maybe a minimum of $35 to $40 without booze. So, just to clarify, just saying.
Madam Chair, if you're in downtown Toronto, your breakfast is $50.
It's $50, I know. So,
$40.
so do we want to include a $75 daily maximum, no receipt required? That means it doesn't matter if you are inclusive of breakfast, lunch, and supper in a conference, you would get the $75 daily allowance. Councillor McLaughlin.
If you're getting the $100 a day in salary, I would be willing to leave it the way it was. I know it's probably a little more work to keep it, but I just, and I understand what you're saying, because, yeah, you don't get very much in Toronto for $50. That's.
Do you want to increase the overall $65 up to $75 and have that divided out between breakfast, lunch, and supper, so that it comes to $75 if there's nothing included? So right now it's $65 when you include all three meals, up it to $75, does that make sense?
Up it to $75, but divided between
breakfast, lunch, and
the three meals. I would be in favor of that. Because,
and do you also want within Renfrew County to be $45? So say, for instance, you go up to an airport meeting, you leave right after you have a bus run, and you go up, you have to pick up, you know, but receipts would be required. So you pick up McDonald's at $10, you at least get it reimbursed, because your meeting starts at 6 and it takes you 45 minutes to get there.
You can if you want. I mean, I've never in 14 years bothered. So that doesn't matter to me. You can make it whatever you want, because I just, personally, I wouldn't bother with it. I just figure that's part of my time schedule. So.
Marcia?
Currently, we don't require receipts at all.
And you pay?
Yeah, so they would provide a sheet, an expense sheet, and they would just tell me which...
A supper would be 30,
yes.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. A supper's 25 in Renfrew County, a lunch is 12, and breakfast is 8. I don't require receipts.
And that's different than the outside of Renfrew County?
That is different, yes.
Do you want to
Sure, I'll say it again.
leave it the same or change it? Reeve Miller.
I would like to recommend changing it. You can't eat breakfast for $8 and you don't need $25 to eat dinner. So those numbers, I think the breakdown needs a little look at for Renfrew County. It costs $10 or $11 to eat breakfast in Renfrew County, and you can buy a heck of a good dinner for $15.
Yeah, that's right. I agree.
We're only on item number 1. Okay. So leave the same, change the numbers a bit, but the same daily amount. Is everybody in favor of that? Thank you. I'm starting not to be able to see. 11, benefits. Is council interested in offering benefits to the municipal councils, some municipalities offer the benefits, and it's a benefit program, so you get your dental and your health insurance. Obviously, you don't get long-term disability because there is no such thing as a counselor, as employees would get. I would have to say that most municipalities don't offer benefits. There are some that do. Is anybody interested in that? Are we interested? Yeah. Can I say are you in favor of having benefits? Yes? Put your hands up. You want to... What insurance? Your insurance is covered.
Yeah, your
This
insurance
is just
automatic.
benefits. This is dental and health care. Councillor McLaughlin.
I'm just wondering, and I'm sure you have someplace of what municipalities offer it and which ones don't. Are there some, Marcia?
I don't have that on hand with me. I'll have to ask around to all the other municipalities.
I kind of would like to see that figure, and if I was in favor of doing this, it would not be until 2018 before I would even consider putting it into bylaw. So maybe, in essence of time, we could leave it as is and have that discussion at another time. Would that be?
Yeah, I think we should review this all again, unfortunately, just in time for the election so that it's all set for December 1st, 2018, when a new council comes on board.
Okay. Then in that essence, let's leave this until maybe get more information and have that discussion in 2018. Is it when?
Yeah.
When so the new council starts
December
1st, 2018.
So we should have this discussion maybe January or February of 2018. To have that in place before you advertise for the election as to what a councillor's getting paid and what benefits, if they receive any.
I was going to say November of 2017 to have it set, because I think you can put your name in January 1st, 2018.
I don't know.
I think I'm pretty sure that's...
Sure, before the election, before you can put your nomination papers in, they should know what they're getting into. I agree.
Exactly, and
we'll leave that up to staff.
Painful process again, but I think it needs to be done, and I agree with what your thoughts.
Okay, so is everybody in favor of leaving it until such time? Thank you. And that's it for that. Then, staff announcements. Do you have that memo? There it is. So, I will let the chairperson, Councillor, one
more thing. I know we're going to talk about the allocation.
Yes, allocation. Sorry, yes. Thank you, Marcia. The allocation currently as it stands is how much per?
$3,000 per council.
3,000. I know in another municipality, it also increases by the CPI each year, which increases the salary of the councillors, the CPI each year. So, having said that, I think $3,000 does not cover 2 conferences per year. It may cover 1, depending on where you're going. So there's 2 issues with that. Do you want to increase it from $3,000 to say $4,000, and then each year increase it by the CPI? And number 2, do you want to pool it as 1, and if there's anything left over from one council member that didn't attend any this year, the other councillor, if they attend 2 or 3, depending on them, if they're new council, they may want to do that, that they wouldn't have to pay back. And having known that in the past, other councils have had to pay back, but this is a new idea. Councillor McLaughlin.
To go back to what you said, it was brought forward, I don't know whether it was last council or where they wanted to raise the allowance by $500 at that time, and then it was decided instead of doing that, we would raise the chairs another $500. But my thoughts are, and I was thinking of raising it to $3,500 per person and putting it in a pool, and that if there was extra money left, and that any counselor could go to as many as 2 conferences, because I don't think there's a need to go to 3 or 4. And that if there's extra money left in that pool, that money would be used to offset his expenses, his or her expenses. So that's what I'm thinking, which would be another $3,500, is that correct? Because there's, what, 7? $3,500 would go back in, extra would go in the pool?
Yeah, that it become...
And it becomes a pool, because like last year, there was 2 of us that didn't go to any conferences. I think this year there's 1 not going to any. So, and then, Marcia, correct me if I'm wrong, but any excess money that's left from that pool goes back and it just goes into the general levy, does it not?
Correct.
So I don't see why you would jeopardize 1 counselor when there was money in the pool that's going to go back. If there's no money in the pool, then you pay. That's my thoughts.
Reeve Miller?
2 points about that. I agree that it should be pooled, but maybe a little different format, which I'll touch on in a minute. But in regard to the $3,500, I think we have to realize that's a $100 increase, not $500. We just gave $400 away in pay, didn't we? That's coming off that number, did we not say that? So we gain $100 if we go up $500. My recommendation, go to $4,000. That's an increase of $600. And rather than pool it all and go to the ones that used more of it and try to figure out a way to divvy up the balance, I think it would be more prudent for, if Chris Olmsted wanted to go to something and he knew he didn't have the money, that he approach a counselor beforehand and know that he's got it covered. So he doesn't have to wonder for a year whether he's getting it or not. He could come to me and say, you think you're going to use all yours? No. And then he'd have it, because otherwise nobody's going to know if they want to do these extra ones till the end of the year. And I have a third point. I'm hoping, in view of the fact that Councillor Olmsted is in this pickle right now for some money, I'm hoping that we can put something through retroactive to reimburse him for that by whatever legal way we can do it in a municipality, because it's only fair. He took the time to go do it, and I don't think he owes us that in view of the fact that we had the extra money from other councillors, and I want to put a motion at some point to that he be paid for that.
I'll second that.
Have you already reimbursed? No, okay. I agree with that thought. So $4,000 to attend 2 conferences. If you want to attend the 3rd, get permission from council as a whole to say, bring it up at a council meeting that you want to attend the 3rd, and then the treasurer can find out, because it's not just whether or not you've used yours, but maybe somebody didn't ask and they went ahead and they spent more than what they should have, and the pot is only so big. So that the treasurer would be aware that you're interested in the 3rd one, and the monies could then be looked at to see what money is left over from the pool. Having said that, those expenses are still recorded under your individual treasurer's remuneration. Councillor McLaughlin.
I'm just wondering, maybe in the start of the year, if we had a meeting and where everybody, because I know pretty well what conferences I'm going to go to come January, unless there's something that really twigs that I feel that I should go to. But I know where I'm going to, and I can tell you in January pretty well what meetings, what conferences I'm going to go to.
I think it can be left up to each individual council to decide when they want to decide to go. I know I won't know until it's almost time to register or during the time that it's registering. Some others might be in the same predicament I am, whether or not I'm going to go through Whitewater Region or not.
All that was a thought.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a great thought. Some people know ahead of time, some people don't know ahead of time. That's the only thing. I'm a day-to-day kind of girl. Councillor Regier and Marcia.
And we just can't forget either now that OGRA and Roma is no longer the same conference. So
Right,
that's going to
two.
take in two, and then if you take in the OEMC, and then if you take in the AMO. So it could add up quick.
Yeah. So we'll increase it to $4,000, which is inclusive of 2 conferences. If you want to go to the third, you come back and you get council permission and the treasurer's verification that there's funds left over.
I'm good with that.
Everybody good? Good. Okay. Councillor McLaughlin.
But if you're going to go to OGRA and Roma, which are 2 conferences, I don't think you'll do that for $4,000. I'm pretty well positive you won't do it. So there's another thought, you know, because I would think you'd have to have about $45,000 to $5,000.
Do you want to increase it to $4,500 then?
Well, it depends. Then that's quite an increase from 3,000 to 45 times 7. So I don't know. I just twigged to me that I know if you go to Good Roads, it's about 2,300 to 2,500. Now maybe Roma's, the cost of the conference is less. I'm not sure on that one. So.
Mayor Johnson.
We already voted on that.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I think we've...
So $4,000, leave it at $4,000?
Yeah.
You'll take a look at the costs and know, the treasurer can let you know what kind of costs you might be incurring to go to each individual conference. So you stick it under 4 or you go over and with her permission, basically. Okay, are we done this time? Staff announcement. I'll leave this up to the chair of the hiring committee, which is Councillor Regier, I believe, was the chair, to make the staff announcement.
Well, we're very pleased to announce that the hiring committee that was made up of Councillor Olmsted, myself, Marcia, and who am I missing?
Doug.
Sorry, Doug. Sorry, Doug. Couldn't see you back there. We're very pleased to announce that Carmen Miller has accepted the position as the Administrative Planning Assistant, and this will be effective as of Monday, this Monday coming September the 12th. She comes to us. She was employed with the City of Pembroke since 2001 and has also worked in the municipality of Hastings Highlands. She comes very qualified. She has obtained 4 out of the 5 programs for the AMCTO, and yeah, I think she's going to be a really good fit here, both with staff and with council. And so we're very pleased to have her on board. And I would hope that she would attend perhaps our one of our meetings so we can introduce her and yeah, so good choice.
Okay, so in that end, we have a motion moved by Reeve Miller, seconded by Councillor Regier. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region accepts Carmen Miller as the new Administrative Planning Assistant. Her duties will commence on September 12, 2016. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Small campground taxation issue. There's an information and a resolution. I'll read the motion, which is a mile long, and then we'll have any discussion. Moved by Councillor Regier, seconded by Reeve Miller. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region passes the following resolution in support of taxation impact on campgrounds. Whereas the Canada Revenue Agents has decided that some campgrounds are too small to qualify for the small business tax deduction, and whereas campgrounds in Ontario have begun receiving calls and letters from CRA warning them of reassessments in part because they are deemed not to qualify for the small business tax deduction since they employ fewer than 5 people. And whereas the camping community provides a source of employment of 15,000 jobs across Ontario and supports economic activity by contributing $1 billion to Ontario's economy and generating $294 million in tax revenues. And whereas Camping in Ontario, which represents 440 privately owned campgrounds in Ontario, is working with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business to push the Department of Small Business and Tourism, Finance Canada, and the Canada Revenue Agency to implement changes that ensure campgrounds are recognized as small business and pay the same taxes as other small businesses. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of the Township of Whitewater Region, should it not be, recognizes the benefit and values all campgrounds throughout Ontario and in Canada and supports Camping in Ontario initiative that changes be implemented to ensure campgrounds are recognized as small businesses and pay the same tax as other small businesses. And further, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Minister of Small Business and Tourism, the local Member of Parliament, and all Ontario municipalities for their support. So I've made one change, is that okay? But instead of the City of Quinte, because we're not the City of Quinte West, where the Township of Whitewater Region recognizes the benefit. So do we have any discussion with regards to this? Reeve Miller.
Not so much a discussion as a comment. I talked to a campground owner today about this, and I asked him specifically what would this cost him in his case. And his answer was nothing, because what the government's doing here is going to make criminals out of people, and they're not going to be filing properly, and they're going to save every cent and maybe double that doing it their own way. And I think it's a bad, bad thing, and it's liberalism. Thank you.
Mayor Johnson.
Adding to Reeve Miller's comment, what he neglected to say is, in his statement, to protect these small businesses and keep them out of jail so that they can have family-run businesses, I think we should support this resolution, because I do believe this is just a touch on, as they say, the edge of the iceberg, because as soon as they start that, then what are they going to do with the farms now that it's a father and son and grandson under 5? It's the start of a trend. We've got to stop it. So I'm very much in favor of this resolution.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Christmas hours, a discussion of Christmas hours. Marsha? Is this a report that you did, or?
Actually, Karen got this report for us. She just called around to the other municipalities to see what they were closed. So normally at this time, the CAO would normally bring this to council just so that we can, let people know what our hours will be. So looks like we do have a due date on the 30th, which is the Friday. So I provided on that sheet up there, Charlene, with you.
Yep.
Maybe if we could use this is just what the girls had suggested downstairs, because we need to be open in order for us to receive the funds for that due date, and it's a water due date. We would be closed then the Friday, the 23rd, use the Christmas day for that, and then close Monday, and then work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then close the following Monday.
And that would cover all the statutory holidays?
Yeah.
And just so you know what Laurentian Valley does, as I see it's unknown, I don't know if you called her, if I wasn't there, they wouldn't know. They should know, but they don't sometimes. They get a half a day. If Christmas Day falls on a weekday, you get from 12 noon on Christmas Eve off, plus an additional Christmas Day and Boxing Day. And New Year's Eve the same, you finish at 12 noon, and you still get New Year's Day off if it falls on during the week. This time it's falling on the weekend, so we get Laurentian Valley gets no additional days, like the half day. So Laurentian Valley would probably, I like the Friday, the Monday, so we'll see, but probably it would be Monday, Tuesday for Christmas Day, Boxing Day, following Christmas, and be open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then close the following Monday for January 1st. So I think this is fair. I like the idea, in my opinion, to have Christmas Day as December 23rd, the Friday, Monday, December 26th, still have it off as Boxing Day, and Monday, January 2nd, as New Year's Day, having it off. And that's your 3 stat holidays are covered. Steve had his hand up. Steve Hodson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm wondering, Christmas Eve is on a Saturday. My staff has to work the landfill Christmas Eve on the Saturday. Would it be appropriate if I closed the landfill site at noon on both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve Saturdays?
That's right. So I think that's appropriate.
Appropriate? Okay. Thank you. I'll have it well advertised.
So maybe we can include that, because I think the landfill is often forgotten with regards to their hours. So it would be nice, I agree. Is everybody in favor of that? So staff would be off the Friday. Councillor McLaughlin, you have a question?
It's past practice not that we used to give our staff, they would be off the half day before, and then they would be off Christmas Day, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and New Year's Day. Am I correct?
Yes.
And what you're proposing is that you're off all day Friday, correct?
Yes.
The Monday, and then the following Monday. You're short a day.
Yes, the following Monday. No,
You're short a day.
well, that's if we would continue to follow that, but if we went by
Why?
similar to Laurentian Valley's way, we don't have to go by Laurentian Valley's way, but if it just falls on a weekend this
Falls
year.
on a weekend, but still, any other place will take, any place I worked, you would take the following Monday. If Christmas fell on Saturday and Sunday, which
Christmas and Boxing Day, yeah.
Christmas and Boxing Day were Saturday and Sunday, you would take the following Monday and Tuesday. Am I not correct?
Correct.
That's
Correct? So
But we were just taking,
you were
instead of doing
yeah.
the Monday and Tuesday, they had suggested
I
a Friday.
guess what I'm saying is, and I think what is fair, if you wanted to, and I think would take the Friday to include the 2 half days, and then take the Monday and the Tuesday, which would be your Boxing Day and your Christmas Day.
I like that suggestion.
That's what I'm thinking, because that, in all fairness,